Vanguard Champion Hill Alpha. I'm gonna give you guys my first impressions. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy BlancOnline, here today to chat some Call of Duty Vanguard. Obviously, the Champion Hill Alpha is out right now, only on PlayStation. So if you're on PlayStation, whether that be 4 or 5, definitely jump in and experience Vanguard for yourselves. I'm gonna give you guys my very, very rough first impressions of Vanguard. I've only played an hour, but I wanted to do a video that sort of gives off a first impressions type feel, and then when the alpha finishes, so when the whole thing's done and I've played like a weekend of Vanguard, then I'll do my final video doing a final review on Vanguard and where I think the game is at this point in time. But this is going to be first impressions. As I said, very, very rough. The gameplay you're watching right now is my first ever game of Vanguard, so this is the first time I touched the game, first time I ever played the game. So it's sort of me working around the map, trying to figure out how Vanguard is, how Champion Hill is, and sort of getting a feel for the game and sort of wrapping my head around first impressions here. But I want to start off with pros, and then I'll go into the cons later on. Pros: Champion Hill is a pro, and by that I mean that Champion Hill as a game mode is a very interesting concept, and a concept that I think innovates on the gunfight mode as a whole, and that makes it better. Adding the battle royale into elements into this sort of gunfight tournament style game mode is really, really interesting, and it actually makes for some pretty intense gameplay. You'll see later in this game here that you're watching right now, it gets to a point where it's literally just me. We have no lives left. I can't afford extra lives, and my teammate is just bum ass, so he died a long time ago and he was out of the game for a long time, and it was just me. And I had to sort of survive for as long as I could. I get pretty far, I say, for my first game of Vanguard, so I'm very proud of myself there. But you'll see it towards the end of this gameplay here. But yeah, Vanguard and Champion Hill as a whole is a very, very cool game mode. Do I see it being a game mode that a lot of people are going to be playing post-launch? Not really. I think that Champion Hill is cool for maybe a couple of hours, and then once you're maybe a couple of games even, and then once you finish that, you go into normal multiplayer. That's what I think Champion Hill is. I don't think it's going to be this staple of Call of Duty. I don't think they're inventing something here that will fundamentally change the way that people perceive Call of Duty to be. It's not a Warzone type change, but it's a welcome change, and it is something that I think is really, really cool. So I like Champion Hill as a mode because it makes 2v2 and 3v3 settings more interesting, and it makes that whole sort of game mode better without changing it too much. So Champion Hill is definitely a pro. Another pro is Footstep Sounds. So footsteps here in Vanguard are definitely quieter than what we thought they would be in Modern Warfare, so that is definitely a plus. It's not quiet to where you cannot hear footsteps at all, but it is quiet enough to not promote camping. This is again an alpha, and this is again a very, very, very subjugated game mode to where we don't know all the ins and outs of how footsteps will affect the final multiplayer. But for what we can experience, and for my first hour of playing, it is quieter. It is quiet enough to where it's not promoting camping, to where you can definitely run around the map. So Footstep Sounds is definitely a pro there. Another pro is the guns and the way that the guns feel. Obviously, this is running off the Modern Warfare 2019 engine, and the guns felt pretty good there in Modern Warfare 2019, and they feel really good here as well. I think that guns as a whole kick more. There is visible recoil. You need to properly aim with these guns, and that's something that I adjusted to, and you'll probably see in the gameplay here. Something that I adjusted to quite a bit is recoil, and how to sort of navigate the fact that I have to account for recoil again in my gunfights, and that makes gunfights that much more, I guess, important here in the Champion Hill Alpha. And I'll ring in my next pro is Ttk. Time to Kill in this is not as fast as Modern Warfare as we all feared, and it's not as slow as it was in Cold War. It's very much a slightly faster, or I guess a faster Modern Warfare 2019 Time to Kill, and that's a good thing, because again, that brings a more balanced and a more sort of need to be good at engaging in gunfights. And while granted, there are armor elements here in Champion Hill, so that will account for Ttk, but for most of the match, especially the early rounds, you don't really have armor that much. So therefore, and when that is the case, your time to kill is not awful. It's not a laser beam like Modern Warfare 2019, and it's not as slow as Cold War. Personally, for me, I like a slower Ttk because it makes gunfights, and it makes the idea that you need to be better at using your guns in a multiplayer shooter. It adds that little bit of a skill gap, and then that added with the way that the weapons behave in this game, I think that is generally all round a pro. And that's it. for my first hour at least. Let's get into cons. First con, skill-based matchmaking. I'm pretty sure skill-based matchmaking is here in the alpha. I'm fairly certain. I had 2 relatively good games, and then after that happened, it's been kind of a shambles. I've played 4 games in total. 2 games were okay, the other 2 games were super sweaty. So I have this suspicious feeling that skill-based matchmaking is here in the alpha. I'm not going to say any more on the subject because we know it's going to be back in Vanguard, so we can't really complain about it. But I just wanted to point it out if you thought, or if you were sort of wondering whether or not SBMM was here in the alpha. My second con. The game is brown on brown on brown. It's taking a very brown color palette, and that is something that I am not very fond of. I like the Treyarch style of color palette where you can actually see color and you can see things and they're visible. One of the biggest problems with Modern Warfare 2019 is that not a lot of things were visible in that game. Kind of the same thing here in Vanguard. It's very dark, it's very brown, and it's hard to see things, especially when you upgrade your weapons to the points where they can get explosive rounds and FMJ rounds, and you have all those sparkly effects, and it gets really hard to see people. Especially on PlayStation 4, I'm playing on a PS5, and it's hard for me to see people on PS5. I can't even imagine what it would be like on PlayStation 4, where your graphic and the fidelity of those graphics are lower. I can only imagine how bad the visibility would be on PS4. So that is definitely something that needs to be fixed. That is something that I don't know if they can do it within engine or how it will work, but visibility and the look of the game as a whole, they just need some bloody color. Like, I don't want a year of looking at different shades of brown. I want to see actual color. I want to see the people that I'm shooting at, and if the effects you use in your guns hurts visibility as well, that's a big problem. Third problem with Vanguard, or at least Champion Hill, spawns. Spawns were a massive issue in Modern Warfare 2019, and they're continuing to be an issue here in Champion Hill. There are multiple times within this gameplay where I literally spawn and I'm already almost dead as soon as I spawn. There are multiple instances where you spawn and people are behind you, or people spawn in front of you. Spawns are an issue here in Champion Hill, especially if you run around the map. If you're not running around the map, you'll probably never experience this. But if you're running around the map and trying to engage in gunfights, then you will come up against this issue of spawns. Spawns are a massive problem here in Champion Hill. It's definitely something that they can fix, and I hope that they do that moving into the beta or even further into this alpha period. My fourth problem with this game, and this is the last thing that I'll talk about because, as I said, I've only played for an hour. Destructibility doesn't mean anything. The fact that every single environment here, or most of your environments here in Vanguard, are destructible means absolutely nothing to the gameplay of Vanguard. This means that this whole sort of idea that you can destroy planks and you can run through things and you can shoot through things means absolutely nothing. Not only that, the things you can shoot, people can still aim assist you behind the things you can shoot. Your little red dot that appears and your name tag that appears can be seen behind the things that can be shot. Destructibility means nothing, and if anything, it's a deterrent to gameplay. Here in Champion Hill, let's say you are fresh, it's round 1, and you break a wall, that wall will be broken for the rest of the match, for however many amount of rounds you play from that point, and forever amount of rounds anyone else plays from that point. The environment does not change, and that's a cool idea in concept, but in practice it doesn't work, because by the end and by the time you get into the later rounds, the maps are skeletons. There is nothing in the map because everything's been shot through, blown up, ran into. It makes no sense because the maps are just skeletons. Whether that be a change that they can fix again, or whether that be a change that is gonna be here in Champion Hill, in multiplayer, I can only imagine what this will be like in multiplayer. Imagine after a game of Hardpoint where you're running around the map going to different points, imagine how much of a skeleton that map will be by the end of it. And you may argue, this could be a cool change, this could be interesting, this could be something that I'm excited about because the maps are dynamic and they change. Let me tell you how annoying it is to have absolutely nothing to sort of maybe even find cover into, nothing to sort of traverse. Every map is very open. It's like Wasteland. Imagine playing Wasteland all the time in the latter rounds of Champion Hill, and nobody wants to do that. So that is, again, destructibility means nothing because if anything, destructibility and the fact that the environment is destructible is a deterrent to the multiplayer and not something that adds anything to Call of Duty. But as a whole, Call of Duty Vanguard Champion Hill Alpha for my first hour of playtime is interesting. It is piquing my interest further for this game. It definitely feels like Modern Warfare 2019. It definitely looks like a World War II skin of Modern Warfare 2019, and the ideas and what they're implementing within this game is very much, what did Modern Warfare do? How can we do that and put a World War II skin on it? It's very, very much that. But as I said, I've only played an hour. I'm gonna play through this entire weekend and give a finite review at the end of the weekend. I might not do a video until that point because I sort of want to hone in and focus in on Vanguard and Champion Hill and sort of get a really, really good review out there for you guys. But for my first hour of play, it's interesting. It's very Modern Warfare 2019. The guns feel good. The game is very brown. Skill-based matchmaking is there. Destruction means nothing. And that's sort of it. Like, it's not awful and it's not amazing, it's okay. And I think that's how I'm gonna describe my first hour here on Vanguard, is this game is okay. And this game is by no means an indication of what we're gonna get in 6v6 multiplayer, because Champion Hill is very, very different to 6v6 multiplayer. If you think that anything you see here in Champion Hill will translate into multiplayer, well, yes, most things will, but a lot of things will be different. In multiplayer, it is going to be 6v6, it's going to be bigger maps, destruction is going to be, if I imagine, more prevalent, but there are things here that when translated to multiplayer will not be good. Visibility, spawns, skill-based matchmaking, destruction. Those are the 4 things off the top of my head that will not translate well into the multiplayer here in Vanguard. We're going to get the Vanguard multiplayer review on September 7, but this Champion Hill Alpha is a very interesting insight into where Sledgehammer's head is at in terms of how they want to direct the multiplayer here for Vanguard. And I'm glad that Sledgehammer is going to be taking opinions. I will be sort of giving this video out and adding Sledgehammer and doing all that sort of stuff so that maybe they see this, and I'm glad that they're taking criticisms. But I think my criticisms here on Vanguard are the criticisms of most people, and most people that have played Vanguard. I would love to know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. But from a lot of people that I'm seeing in the commentaries and on Twitter and all that sort of stuff, people are generally saying the same thing. The destruction is kind of ridiculous. The spawns are a big problem. The visibility and all that sort of stuff, and it's things that can be changed, and that's the positive to take out of this. Things that are wrong with Vanguard right now, at least that we can see in this alpha, are things that can be changed. And if they do get changed, then we can have a good product despite skill-based matchmaking, right? Movement feels clunky, so it's not exactly Modern Warfare 2019 because it does feel clunkier than Modern Warfare 2019, but again, things that can be changed. So again, it's okay, it's not amazing, it's interesting, it's piquing my interest definitely. I'm gonna play this game like a no-life for the rest of the weekend, and then I'm gonna give you guys a finite review on Vanguard so that you can be more educated if you're on Xbox or PC onto whether or not it is worth a pre-order, or whether or not it is worth going into the open beta. Because again, it is an alpha, we need to take everything that we sort of see here with a pinch of salt, but for what we've experienced right now, Vanguard is okay, can get better, should get better, needs to get better. That's sort of my takeaways here for my first hour, but that is all for this sort of first impressions video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Again, comment down below if you've played Champion Hill. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Do you love the alpha? Do you hate the alpha? Are you indifferent? Let me know all your thoughts and opinions down below. And as I said, click subscribe because the next video that I post will most likely be my review of the Vanguard alpha and sort of me taking a holistic view on the alpha as a whole, and sort of diving deeper into my thoughts and opinions on very specific aspects on the alpha, where it did it good, where it did it bad, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, click subscribe for that. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Me and Lil we Scotty MJ, bashing the rock, we're here in the fade. Pull up in a whip with 21 bays, here come the bastards, 21 days. Gun you boy, I know he's a waste. Baby, I know that you want a little taste. I know you want all the bass in your face. Brand new bag and brand new nails. Me and Lil we Scotty MJ, bashing the rock, we're here in the fade. Pull up in a whip with 21 bays, here come the bastards, 21 days. Gun you boy.